So President Trump is set to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the White House, known as ABS. Top agenda issues include Trump's push for Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords and a potential deal on F-35 fighter jets.
Are you planning to sell F-35s to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
And also, are you looking at doing a similar security agreement like you did with
Yeah, no, I am planning on doing that, yeah.
You're going to
They
sell
want to buy.
F-35s?
They've been a great ally. They've got to like us very much. Look at the Iran situation, what we did in terms of obliterating, we obliterated their nuclear capability. Yeah, I will say that we will be doing that. We'll be selling F-35s, yeah.
So let's bring in former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, do you think the Saudis have earned the right to buy the F-35s?
Yeah, especially because Israel has said that they're fine with it as long as certain conditions are made. You know, Saudi Arabia has been the key to Donald Trump's not only Gaza peace plan, but his rewriting the entire destiny of the Middle East. And it all began 9 years ago when President Trump first acknowledged Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, as the man who was going to lead Saudi Arabia and the region to a very different future.
Thinking about an economy and less about, less about religion. He also streamlined his education system, and the terms of attacking terrorism, that was probably the best thing he could have done.
Absolutely. You know, it changed the entire region because all of a sudden the major country in the region has always been Saudi Arabia, the Gulf Arab region, and it was willing to turn away from terrorism. It had always been kind of terrorist adjacent. Some of the leadership had been, and now it was going to be in a very different direction. They were going to go after terrorists. They were going to, at the same time, pursue peace. They were going to pursue commerce. They were going to pursue technology. And that has rewritten and redrawn the map of the entire Middle East to the point where the Gaza peace plan, the significance of that was that it separated Hamas from the Palestinian people. There's only going to be peace now without Hamas.
Right. And right now we have a situation where the stage might be set again to try to get the Saudis into the Abraham Accords. Remember, Hamas, Sinwar said one of the things he wanted to do because of October 7th was stop the Saudis from doing this. Do you think the MBS has a surprise for the president today and says, yes, I'm in?
You know, could, but it doesn't even make that much of a difference. Why? Because all of the conditions are already there. You know, Hamas is now going to be isolated. As I pointed out, that the whole deal, the whole Gaza peace plan is to get rid of Hamas. It can't be part of a new government. It has to be disarmed. And so whether there is an actual signing of Saudi Arabia at this very minute in time is not as important as sort of the bigger picture. I think they'll eventually join. Maybe they join within the year. Certainly, I think by the time President Trump leaves office, because that whole Abraham Accords never would have been possible without a nod from MBS to the other countries in the region.
So the other thing real quick is the Gaza situation. It looks like we got a very sophisticated, building in Israel where Israel's on the first floor, we're on the second floor. Arabs are represented, and we're putting all in on transforming Gaza. I've never felt more optimistic, even though I know the road's going to be tough, especially with Michael Waltz shepherding through that UN resolution yesterday.
You know, that was just such an earthquake to me because the UN had always been very anti-Israel, had been, pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinians. And what have they now done? All the major countries in the UN, the United Nations Security Council, they've signed on to this peace plan, which effectively puts an end to Hamas.
Let's move on to Venezuela. The president essentially says Maduro wants to speak. I'll talk to him. But the conversation's got to be simple. Do you want to go to Iran or Russia?
Yeah, again, I think President Trump's looking at the whole Western Hemisphere and how do you completely change the chemistry of the Western Hemisphere. We've not paid attention to the Western Hemisphere in South America for decades. And what Trump is now doing is saying, okay, well, what's happened as a result of our ignoring the region? The Chinese have moved in, Iran has moved in, the cartels have moved in, communism has moved in. How do we change that? And I think Maduro is a key element of it.
But, KT, the risk is this. If we bring all this firepower into the region and Maduro is able to stay in power, it's going to look like he won. Mm-hmm. So that makes me think, because they have such competent people around him with Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Rubio, and others, that there's got to be an end game here, right? Because it's very costly for us to keep so much firepower in the area.
Yeah. I think the end game is up to Maduro. Does he want to go along? Does he want to talk to President Trump and have a very different relationship with the United States, a very different relationship with his own people? Or does he want to keep going? And if he wants to keep going, I think you're right. The end game is probably regime change. Not that we're going to bring about, not because American Marines are going to be on the ground, but will bring so much pressure to bear that Maduro will have very little choice but to either drift away into the peacetime of his existence or to really accede to what President Trump wants to do.
Venezuela influenced by Cuba, Iran, Russia, and China. All the bad guys influencing one country. Thanks so much, KT McFarland. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.